My grandma is essentially poisoning our family and won't stop. Backstory. I, 30 female, currently live with my father, 65 male, and grandma, 94 female, because of hard times financially. It is technically her house, but legally it is in my dad's name and he pays for 90% of the expenses here including food, taxes, and utility bills. My grandma, while elderly, seems to be cognitively well and can move, cook, clean, etc. without issue. Our problem is she is literally poisoning us. She is incontinent as most old people are. She does not like to use pads as she says they are uncomfortable. Instead she stuffs paper towels into her underwear and uses them as pads. She urinates in them throughout the day and takes them out at night. Then, instead of throwing them out, she rinses them in the sink and reuses them. She leaves them on the baseboard heaters in her room, and every other room in the house, to dry. The stench is unbelievable. The house is very old with poor ventilation. My room is right next to hers, the bathroom, and the smell has made me sick on several occasions. I constantly have a sore throat and burning eyes. We have politely asked her to stop several times, bought her special ultra-thin pads to use, got her a stainless steel garbage top to dispose of them properly. She just continues to do it and tries to hide them in other rooms, but because of the smell we always find them. We have tried being kind, losing our tempers, threatening her, having my cousin who is a doctor talk to her, but nothing is working. I have been dealing with this for a year and a half now. I unfortunately cannot leave this house ATM and neither can my father. The worst part is I am not a physically healthy person. I have 4 heart conditions that she knows about, and when the stench is bad my tachycardia flares up. I am so tired of breathing in the smell of human urine. Today we caught her hiding them behind her bed headboard. She's actively being spiteful against us and hiding them in hopes she can continue her nasty little habit without us finding out. We are at our wits' end and don't know what to do. I think she needs to be in a home. I told my dad to cut off financial support until she cuts it out, but he has a soft heart and didn't want to resort to that. Well, he threatened that today after we found them hidden in her room again. But I know she won't listen. Some suggested this may be a sign of dementia. Her mother had it, but she has passed her cognitive tests and shows no issue aside from this. She is an aggressive, headstrong person who does as she pleases. Please, does anyone have any advice? I'm desperate. Too long did not read. My 94-year-old grandma is incontinent and instead of using pads she pisses into paper towels, rinses and reuses them and lets them dry all over the house. The toxic urine ammonia smell is killing all of us and she won't stop. Help. Update. My father and I called a family member out of desperation. 2 hours of Skyping later, we're going to try and find a doctor that can recommend my GMA mental health evaluation. We believe it's most likely not dementia and more likely mental illness related to hoarding. I'm not sure how it's going to go, as she is very stubborn, but we are going to try. Also every person saying, "You're 30, why don't you just move out, bruh?" Read the beginning of the post. I am only here out of financial desperation, COVID, and previously lived on my own for 8 years. Thank you. Does she have some form of dementia? Social worker here. She needs psychological testing by a licensed psychologist or neurologist if that has not already been done. Elderly can pass cognitive tests but still have some type of dementia or mental illness causing them to do stuff like this. Perhaps getting court-appointed guardianship over her, if that is a thing in your area, is not a bad idea. That way, she can be placed in a proper facility that can meet her needs. Maybe even involve your local health or code enforcement department to inspect the home and explain to her what she is doing is hazardous. This is a hard one. My sister works in a home, so I hear stories like this here and there. It might be a control issue. Like she might be hanging on to the habit as means of control, even though it seems absurd. What about incentives she enjoys in exchange for her halting the habit? I'm sorry this is happening up. I think it's ultimatum time. You've tried talking to her and it has just made her sneaky. I think it's time to say, "Grandma, we love you, but the next time this happens we will be forced to find alternative living arrangements for you." Then follow through. This cannot continue. Idea 1. Get rid of all of the paper towels. Are sure there are pads and adult diapers around. Idea 2. Do yourself and everyone else in the house a favor and every time you see a used pad anywhere just throw it away. Make it a regular chores which everyone other than grandma does. It is part of taking care of her and yourself whether she likes it or not, and part of proper care for an elderly person. Your grandma is getting old and a little senile, so you all need to start taking care of some things for her that she no longer does right. What about getting her some reusable pads? Underwear. She might be having problems wasting resources, single-use paper towels, especially if she has lived through financial hardship at any point. You can get really good reusable pads these days that are specifically designed to be washed and reused. They are mostly for periods, but I'm sure they would work for peeing on if she's using paper towels at the moment. You rinse them and then put them through the washing machine. It might make her feel more in control if she can relax about wasting resources. A word. Is she a hoarder of other things? I'd like to suggest there may be another reason under the discomfort. If she's really responding to the expense or the scarcity, maybe rephrase this whole thing to her. You need her help. You have this abundance of disposable pads that have to be used. Could she please help out by using them? Insert whatever motivation she'd respond to. The warehouse needs space. It's a tax write-off. Help stimulate the economy. But if she's trying to not be a burden or trying to retain some control, then some reusable pads and a washing machine could be used to get similar compliance. Alternatively, keeping unwrapped, easy-to-use pads in the house, and baby wipes, but not stocking paper towels could encourage her to make the switch. Would something meant to be reusable, like reusable pads, helps perhaps? I know she isn't using pads currently, but maybe something intended to be reused and easily washed could work. I mean, if she's so hell-bent on reusing shit, might as well have something she could actually wash without destroying it. Okay, since your options are limited, you have to find other ways to set boundaries. Tell grandma you are throwing away all paper towels and not buying more. But her cotton reusable pads so she can cope with the issue in a non-wasteful, hygienic way. You said she uses paper towels to clean, but replace that with cotton rags. Take away her ability to use the paper towels and provide cotton alternatives and she'll be forced to adjust. It might cause her some mental discomfort, but that's part of living with you. Is she able to drive? Would getting rid of paper towels solve the problem? Or would she just start using dish rags? She needs a mental evaluation and her doctor needs to be told about this behavior. Adult Protective Services would not consider this acceptable. You and your father would get in trouble because of her. She needs to conform or she needs to go into a home. This is not okay. You need to get her to stop somehow. When you and your dad find the towels drying, throw them away or something. Just make it impossible for her to keep doing this. You made more appropriate alternatives at her disposal. She needs to deal with it. What she's doing is incredibly selfish. If you're in the USA, your state should have social services for the elderly. I bet your grandmother has issues with shame, as well as some issues with spending money on something she sees as a personal luxury. Most of our elderly have some form of issue developed during the Depression. Both of my grandmothers hoarded food. I'm talking multiple freezers and fridges. Both had cases of home-canned vegetables and jellies. Your grandmother needs help from someone who specializes in geriatric care. I'm sending hugs and best wishes your way. I agree with many of the ideas that others have suggested. In addition, is there somebody outside the home whose opinion she values? Perhaps a relative or a member of the clergy? Threaten to tell her dirty secret to whoever it is outside of the home that doesn't know about this. I hate to shame her, but she might need a little bit of shaming to get her act together. Pads can be uncomfortable. Try getting incontinence briefs and throw away her underwear and all the paper towels. Worst case scenario, threaten to put her in a home. I don't like the idea of being mean to old people. Sometimes their cognition isn't working, so you have to say what works. Remove all paper towels from the house. Use cloth towels for everything. If she uses cloth towels instead of paper towels, those can at least be washed in a machine. And, she's not right in the head. Tell her doctor what she is doing. Her doctor can tell her to knock it off. You mentioned she has pads and diapers, but has she tried the fabric alternatives mentioned by the others? Older people have very thin skin and most pads feel uncomfortable and can cause rashes. Get some cloth pads, replace the papers she has hidden with them without telling her and monitor her response. Best if you use white ones to mimic the paper. If you can't find any, perhaps get some absorbent soft fabric and make some. Do bear in mind that regardless of how she appears, she is 94. She will forget things and she will be resistant to change. If all else fails, sweep through her hiding spots daily and throw them away until she realizes it's a waste of time to recycle them. Hi, I was a caretaker for my mom who had Alzheimer's before she passed away earlier this year. This sort of behavior is a very telling sign of the early stages of dementia. She can pass a cognitive test and still have it. My advice is 1. Get her screened for a UTI just to rule that out, and 2. Document the behavior with videos and photos and try to get her to admit to doing it while recording. After a few days, show all of it to her and tell her if she doesn't stop, you're going to have to get the state involved as you're worried for her mental state. It will probably cause a huge fight, but if she doesn't have dementia, she'll stop doing it. There's no way you can force your father to talk to her, make her stop. I feel bad for you. That sounds fucking horrible. I don't have any other advice really, but I hope you can get her to stop. Gross. Confused face, confounded face, tired face with mask, nauseated face. Shit like this is why nursing homes were invented. Hashtag put her in one. Come on. Oh honey, no, put granny in a home. This is face vomiting. Give her something else to do that's not just cooking and caring for grown-ups. She's bored and her privacy and independence has been totally invaded. She's still lucid, so maybe just a case of being unable, polite society, to express her anger, frustration, but most of all grief at the loss of her own independence. She does sound unhinged. Sorry about this. For what it's worth, you're doing the right thing. I hope you and/or your dad are able to talk to the mental health professionals. Make sure to mention your heart conditions. Think it could help paint a clearer picture of what's going on. I wish I had better advice to give. Skeptical smiley face. She might not be doing it to spite you guys. If she's 94, she was born in 1926. That means her formative years was during the Great Depression. She might say the pads are uncomfortable because she knows it is more expensive and saving paper towels to save money. This might be wrong and she is just spiteful. Maybe get her reusable pads. As another option, maybe because in her brain I like to wash these because why waste? And maybe a sense of choice over it, and there are reusable pads on the market and they can be wash and dried in a normal washer and dryer. I know it's enabling her bad behavior, but she is 96. What about getting her cloth sanitary napkins like these ones? That way they can be thrown into the wash and reused. Stop buying paper towel, and ration the toilet paper. Oh God bless, my very old grandma was exactly like this. She was a terrible hoarder and paper towels, tissues, magazines, and newspapers were some of her favorite things to hoard. Your grandma's issue definitely sounds behavioral. I wish I had something more helpful to say other than, I can relate. How terribly frustrating and disgusting. I did a video response on my YouTube. I hope things get better. This can be a hard decision. YouTube at the Scorpion Goddess. I work with folks in nursing homes and have seen this. My personal, not professional opinion is that if she has hoarding tendencies, once she has dementia and incontinence, this can happen. Both the women I saw passed all their cognitive tests too. One stopped the behavior once in the NH but doesn't know she has dementia and thinks she's fine. The other knows she has cognitive deficits, and is a hoarder, but says she is trying to be frugal when she washes her used briefs. Because your GM thinks she is fine, this will be difficult. For now, just throw them away and stop arguing with her because it doesn't work. Then get her to a geriatric specialist. Good luck. You mentioned in your update she was a hoarder? I feel like that could absolutely be a mental disorder then. It's unsanitary and not safe for anyone. Your family is just trying to protect her and yourselves against illness. My great-uncle died from gangrene in my great-aunt's horribly hoarded house. I actually had a lot of grandparents who were hoarders since they all lived through the Depression and had to save and rewash everything. I know this is last resort, but can you hide the paper towels and toilet paper? Forcing her to use pads? That's awful, especially for health reasons. I stayed with a friend in a very old moldy flat. It was so bad. She developed a hectic skin rash and she had to see an emergency doctor and we eventually moved. It was so bad. This environment is toxic for you. Follow the rest of the advice here. I just want to help with the smell while you all get it figured out. Wash her clothes in lemon juice with the detergent. It helped with my grandmother who refused to go to the bathroom and used her incontinence underwear for number 1 and number 2 and fought us on it and kept getting UTIs. Whoa. Hey nurse here. When I worked in a retirement home I had lots of patients that would hide their diapers after use. No one could notice until the STENCHHH got RLY bad. It hurts both of the parties but you have to control her. Sounds like dementia to me, too. Get nurses and doctors involved, not family, and force her. It sucks but it has to be done. A 94-year-old is basically like a child baby in many ways. You need to lay down the law and treat this as if it were a 5-year-old boy constantly misbehaving. Definitely difficult to deal with but I did a video response on my YouTube at The Scorpion Goddess. I took a job in a senior's home to fill a gap in work. I had to enter each resident's apartment every day. This was a really nice senior's home, very well taken care of and immaculate, but in every apartment I went into, the diapers in the garbage pail smelled like urine and it was horrible. And those garbage cans were emptied every single morning. I lasted 2 weeks and had to quit. I feel you. Nursing home. If the house is in his name, he has the ability to, and should, resolve this situation immediately. There is no excuse. This should not have become an ongoing problem. She should be given an ultimatum. Use adult diapers, other alternatives, or face going into a nursing home. Considering how headstrong she is, I highly doubt she would like the idea of that, especially considering there's no chance they'd let her get away with this type of behavior either. Past that, it should be clear that no paper towels should be allowed into the home until the situation is resolved. Stop buying paper towels and throw out the ones she has hiding. At her age I'm sure she has lost her sense of smell and can't understand what the fuss is about. She may have passed her cognitive test but there is still a mental disorder happening. It's about control, as you seem to know already. She and you need help. I'm dealing with a husband who has dementia and is losing control of his bladder function, prostate issues. I'm finally insisting that he wear disposable underwear because I can't deal with him as is. Take fucking control. Would your parents let a child do this shit? Either she complies with your wishes or she goes to a home. Stop buying paper towels. Use washcloths for any cleaning you'd need to do with a paper towel. How the hell do you rinse paper towels? Wouldn't they just fall apart? Is it an issue of being from the Depression era and not wanting to waste? There are adult cloth diapers or pads that would be cleanable and reusable safely. Then the compulsion to get every cent out of something might be improved. They aren't difficult to wash either. Basically send them through the laundry cycle twice. Last one heavy duty. Take away the paper towel. Instead of pads, try briefs. They're like pull-ups for grown-ups. You'll then have to wrest those away from her every night, but at least if you do then it won't be paper towels.